Welcome back, IB Economics students, to this video review where we'll be going over the theory of the firm, which includes the four major market structures: the perfect competition, the monopolistic competition, the oligopoly, and the monopoly. So in this unit review video, we're going to be going over the characteristics of each of these market structures, as well as what each of these market structures look like when it is graphed. Okay, what it looks like in graphic form. Okay, so just to start everything off, what are the characteristics of these different firms? Okay, so let's start from perfect competition. Okay, under perfect competition, there are infinite amounts of firms. Okay, this is what makes the perfect competition market structure a theoretical model. It cannot be actually existing in real life. Therefore, a perfect competition, perfectly competitive market structures are market structures where there are infinite amounts of providers and infinite amount of sellers. The goods they sell are identical. Okay, that of which means that of which results in that the different the price and quantity of any good is actually determined not by the firm, but freely market sources, by free market forces. Okay, so this is the perfect competition. Ease of entry is really easy. That means it is very easy to enter or leave the market. Okay, so it's an example of the industry. Of course, perfect competition is completely theoretical. However, there are industries that are really similar. For example, agriculture, including wheat or apples or milk. Okay, because the goods they produce are identical, and there are many buyers and many sellers. Okay. Now, the second market structure is the monopolistic competition. Now, monopolistic competition is different in perfect competition in that the goods they sell is a little bit different and that they do have some extent of price setting abilities. However, this is also because there are a large number of sellers and ease of entry is also really high. So one of the major differences between perfect competition and monopolistic competition is that the goods are not identical. And similar things includes clothing stores or restaurants, or further examples includes toothbrushes, right? Toothbrushes, if you go to, let's say, your local Target or your local Walmart, it's the same thing. They're all toothbrushes. However, they are slightly different. Therefore, they are differentiated goods. Okay, so those are the characteristics of a monopolistic competition. There are many sellers, many buyers. There is differentiated goods, and the ease of entry is really high. It's easy to enter. Some example firms includes clothing stores, toothbrush, toothpastes, and restaurants. Okay. Oligopoly. What are oligopolies? Oligopolies are where there are a few firms, okay, just a few firms. Now there are two types of oligopolistic market structures: collusive oligopolies and non-collusive oligopolies. Collusive oligopolies basically just functions as a monopoly. Okay, when all the firms work together in order to maximize their profits and price gouging, that's collusive oligopolies. However, non-collusive oligopolies is where each firm actually have to compete each other with each other firms within the oligopoly to actually profit maximize and through the utilization of game theory. Okay, so that's the oligopoly. So within oligopoly, the type of good is not really identified. Okay? It could be similar, it could be completely the same, it could also be differentiated. Okay, so oligopolies includes manufacturing, computers, automobiles. It also includes things such as mobile data provider. For example, in the United States, there is Verizon and T-Mobile. Accounts for the majority of the firms. And then this is an oligopoly because not one firm dominates, but a few firms, maybe two, maybe three firms dominate the whole industry. Okay, so that's an oligopoly. Also, for oligopolies, there are high barriers of entry and high barriers of exit. This protects long-term supernormal profit, unlike perfect competition or monopolistic competition where long-term supernormal profit is not occurring. Lastly, the monopoly is when there is only one major and dominant seller. Now, within a monopoly, does that mean it has to be one monopoly? Only one provider? No, that is not the case. It just has to be meant that one firm has the majority of the market influence. The type of good is unique also because there's only one share or the one firm that's dominating. Barriers of entry and barriers to exit are extremely high. This ensures that long-term supernormal profit is indeed existing. Now, there are natural monopolies, there are legal monopolies, there are different types of monopolies. However, the gist of it is that monopolies are where one firm dominates. Okay, some examples is like for tap water or electricity, where only one firm or maybe one firm dominates in the city. Okay, so those are the characteristics. Now, what do they look like? So the first things first. This is perfect competition. Okay. Perfect competition, as we have seen, the price and quantity is set. Okay. It is set by the free market forces. Therefore, they have 2 planes. They have plane one, which is just a standard supply and demand chart, and plane two, that of which is the average cost, average total cost, marginal revenue curve. Okay. So how do we get this? First, when we draw this, the perfect competition graph, we draw the free market curve. Okay, the supply and the demand. We see the market equilibrium price, and then we connect it all the way to the other side to get the price level. Therefore, the price level is the same. Now, if you have went back to our previous lectures, we have seen that the price is equal to demand, equal to average revenue, equals to marginal revenue. Because this is our line. That of which is illustrated through the average cost. Now, average cost decreases and increases again because of economies and diseconomies of scale. And so does marginal cost. Marginal cost decreases and increases again because of economies of scale. Now, if you look at this graph right here, the average cost equals the marginal cost at the point of profit maximization. Therefore, because of this, there is no long-term supernormal profits within monopolistic competition. So I hope this illustrates basically how to draw it. And if you do not understand, please go back to our previous videos lecturing on how to draw perfect competition. Okay. Our next market structure is monopolistic competition, that of which is illustrated right here. Okay. So monopolistic competition looks like a monopoly. However, the only difference is that there is no long-term supernormal profits. Okay, that means in the long term, the firm does not make profits. Now, what does that look like? So remember that firms will want to produce at the point and quantity when marginal cost equals marginal revenue. So marginal cost is this curve. Marginal revenue is this curve. Remember, marginal revenue could go negative when diseconomies of scales occur. Okay, so this point right here is the point at which firms want to produce at. This line right here, we have to connect it back to the demand curve in order to get the price at which the firm is actually charging. Now, it's interesting to take note that the price at which marginal revenue intersects marginal cost when connected to the demand curve touches the or is adjacent to the ATC, the average total cost curve. Therefore, the average total cost of operation is equal to the revenue, to the marginal revenue of operation, causing causing them to be having no long-term supernormal profits. So in this case right here, monopolistic competition, it is having a break-even point. Okay. So a monopolistic competition is basically a monopoly that doesn't make supernormal profits. Because why does monopolistic competition not make supernormal profits? Because there are low barriers of entry and low barriers of exit, and in the long term, new firms enter into the market to steal the existing profits, and old firms leave when there are losses in order to cut their losses and to allocate resources at the optimal level. Okay. Right here, we have our oligopoly. What is an oligopoly? Oligopoly is a market structure where there are only a few firms selling either identical or differentiated goods, and there are high barriers of entry and high barriers of exit. Now, if you do not understand why the demand curve, the average revenue curve, and the marginal revenue curve right here is kinked, is shaped like this, you have to go back. It is really one of the most complicated market structure diagrams to look at. Okay. So then, this is what it looks like. Marginal cost, marginal revenue, average demand equals average revenue. So this is what it looks like. It's really complicated. If I explain this video is going to be 2 hours long. So please go back and review this the oligopoly market structure by yourself. Okay. Last but not least, perhaps the most important graph you have to be able to draw. You really need to be able to draw this for paper 1. It is the monopoly curve. Okay, monopoly curve, very easy. We have two linear lines sloping downward, the demand, which is the average revenue curve, and then marginal revenue. Marginal revenue can go negative, and it is twice as steep. Okay, the gradient is twice as steep, is twice as negative as the demand is. Okay, average cost is intersected by marginal cost at its lowest point. If you don't know that, I have to go back and review that. Some questions will ask you, why does marginal cost intersect average cost at its lowest point? You have to be able to go back and review that. Okay, and then of course the firm produces at the quantity of profit maximization, that of which is marginal revenue equals marginal cost. At this point right here, connect it down to the quantity, link it back to the price, which is the average revenue, and then we see the price. Okay, And then we also intersect the average cost right here. So this box right here, between the intersection of the average cost and the intersection of the demand, is a supernormal profit. In the long term, monopolies do make supernormal profits because there are high barriers of entry and high barriers of exit. Okay, so I hope this video is helpful in illustrating and actually going over the four major market structures, what they look like, what in graphic form, and also their characteristics. So if this video is helpful, I hope to see you guys in the next one. We'll be